Welcome! I'm Kamel Tetsu and you're watching Death Count, where I play video games on
That guy's a maniac! Why did he bite me?
A guy bit you?
I was just minding my own business, filling up my death car, full of gas, and out of nowhere...
Wait, your death what?
My death car! Every death count has a deathmobile.
Since when did you get a deathmobile? I've never seen it.
Well you see, that's because I keep it in my death cave.
Your death what?
Death cave.
Death cave? Why have you not told me about this?
Because all you care about is your redneck Camaro.
Death Count, my Camaro is not red. It is black. Look, I have a very important video about Resident Evil 2 Remake right now. So if you don't mind...
Oh, sorry about that. You're lucky I can't kill you.
Let's talk about Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Loading. Ciphering judgment.
Are you ready?
Death count.
Now, I'm sure you are all aware that a Resident Evil 2 game is in the works. If you didn't know, well, a Resident Evil 2 game is in the works. Now, before we get into the meat of this video, I want to start from the very beginning. You know, the facts. So, back in 2012, Capcom began talking about a possibility of an RE2 remake. This was due to the popular demand from the fans wanting an RE2 remake, which started happening ever since the successful release of the first Resident Evil remake back in 2002 for the Nintendo GameCube called Resident Evil Remake. Remake is a word being thrown around a lot lately. Anyways, yeah, 2002 to 2012. It took Capcom that long to start noticing that RE fans wanted an RE2 remake. So they instead, now this is just my thoughts, it felt like Capcom used this to instead make Resident Evil games that are based on, have elements or characters of Resident Evil 2. Because Capcom knew that people wanted to see Raccoon City, Leon, Claire, Umbrella, and pretty much Capcom gave us those things, but not in the form of Resident Evil 2 Remake. They gave us Resident Evil Outbreak in 2003. Resident Evil Outbreak File 2 in 2004, Raccoon City, check, Umbrella, check. Events of the game happened pretty much the same time of RE2. They even went as far to include the famous RPD completely remade. Well, at least part of it was. And don't get me wrong, the Outbreak games were awesome in my opinion. Did they have issues? Yeah. They weren't perfect games, but I would personally like to see these games be remastered onto modern day consoles and PC, with multiplayer online of course. 2005, Resident Evil 4. The main character? Leon. Again, Capcom using the things people love about RE2 and using that to sell their next game, Leon. However, Resident Evil 4 became a masterpiece and is loved by most fans. Some fans would disagree and say RE4 is no true Resident Evil game, and they have the right to say that, I won't judge you. Quickly moving on to 2007, Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. A light gun shooter that has bits and pieces of Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil, and Raccoon City all over again with parts of Resident Evil 3. Hunk is also there. You know Hunk, right? The extremely popular Umbrella operative from, you guessed it, Resident Evil 2. And I can keep going and going. Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, all these games had elements of Resident Evil 2. You know, they were all based off of Resident Evil 2 and sold well because of it. Eventually, 2015 came around, and fans just got tired of waiting for an RE2 remake or some sort of acknowledge from Capcom that an RE2 remake should happen. So instead, fans started to make their own RE2 remakes on PC. The most popular of these was called Resident Evil 2 Reborn. Shortly after, Capcom finally took notice and announced that they will be doing a complete remake of Resident Evil 2. Yay! And told the developers making RE2 Reborn to please shut down the project. So they did. Resident Evil 2 finally became greenlit and development started in 2015. 2016 came around, E3, Tokyo Game Show, PlayStation Experience. Nothing. Okay, you know, the game only had 1 year of development, so, you know, can't expect something. 2017, E3 came around. Nothing. Now I'm starting to get a little bit worried. I was at least expecting an announcement, like an official trailer of you know, maybe a little bit of gameplay, or at least a title saying like Resident Evil 2 remake or just Resident Evil 2. I don't know. I was expecting something and nothing happened. The game already has been in development for about 2 years, and there's still Tokyo Game Show coming around and PlayStation Experience, so I'm hoping that news is shown off there, a trailer of some sort. So here we are, fans of Resident Evil 2, waiting for anything, absolutely anything from Capcom, and instead we get bad news. And this news is not from Capcom, but instead from the voice actors of Leon and Claire of the Resident Evil franchise. Allison Court, which voices Claire Redfield, and Matthew Mercer, which voice Leon S. Kennedy. And it was not good news, like I said. Pretty much confirming that Capcom will not be using them because they want to use non-union voice actors only for RE2 Remake. Now this right here is Allison's Court response to fans going bonkers over her not being able to play Claire Redfield. She pretty much said, and quotes, "I would have done it because I know you guys wanted me to, and I really appreciate your support. I appreciate the outrage you had towards Capcom and everybody involved, but unfortunately, as far as I know, they chose to go non-union with their voice performances." Yeah, and on Twitter, Michael T asks Leon S. Kennedy's voice actor Matthew Mercer this: "Did Capcom not recast you for the same reason they didn't cast Allison Court, because they are going non-union?" Which Matthew Mercer responded, "Methinks. Same experience as Allison regarding this project." Capcom? What the f***? So I was a bit confused on actually what was going on. I do remember hearing about a union strike that was happening, so I did research on this to see what the hell was happening. And this is what pretty much I came up with. Now, bear with me here. This is happening because a union strike against companies that are not paying talents, like actors, or in this case voice actors, enough money for their work. And well, to sum it all down, Leon S. Kennedy and Claire Redfield, voice actors, are members of a union called ACTRA, or ACTRA. I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but whatever. ACTRA, ACTRA. Now, this union that they are a part of believes that Capcom needs to pay their voice actors more money depending on how well the game sells. In other words, Capcom will have to pay the voice actors money up front for their voice acting, motion capture, or anything else they need from them. After that, Capcom will continue to have to pay the voice actors more money for every set amount of copies for that game sold. The contracts that the union is sending out to game companies right now is somewhere along the lines of, for every 500,000 copies sold of that game, all union voice actors need to get paid a part of that profit. Okay, for example, this union sends out a contract to Capcom, and let's say Capcom says, okay, we'll do it. They sign the contract, and on the contract it pretty much says they're going to be paying Allison Court and Matthew Mercer and Ada Wong's voice actress and anyone else who is part of this union that Capcom hires for Resident Evil 2 Remake, they'll pretty much pay them a set amount of money up front. They'll do all their work. And then after that, depending on what was on the contract, if the contract said after their work is done, for every, let's say Resident Evil 2 Remake comes out and it sells, 4 million copies within the first year. So within the first year of the game, 4 million copies sell, which is a lot to be honest. It's a pretty impressive number. 4 million copies. So out of those 4 million copies, for every I don't know, let's just say, depending on whatever the contract said again, for every 100,000 copies sold, Capcom will have to pay a set amount of money to every single voice actor that was involved in Resident Evil 2. That's part of that union. So so again, the game sold 4 million copies, so they're gonna have to pay the voice actors pretty much 40 times. Capcom will have to pay the voice actors 40 times whatever was said on however much they had to sell on give them on the it's really hard to put this into words, but you get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. Anyways, Capcom said, nope, not happening, and instead are recasting all union voice actors to non-union voice actors because Capcom doesn't want to do it. They're not gonna pay the voice actors an additional set amount of money depending on how well the game sells. They said no, they're not gonna do it. And here's the thing. I understand that this union is only trying to protect and give their members more money, but instead, all they're doing is screwing over the fans and leaving Allison Court and Matthew Mercer and the voice actors of Ada Wong and everyone else that's going to be involved in Resident Evil 2 out of a job. So Allison Court and Matthew Mercer are getting no money at all now. Instead of the way things were happening where they were getting paid and they obviously loved being these characters because Allison Court mentioned, in quotes, that she wanted to do it, but that the union is not allowing her to do it. So, like I said, it's screwing over both the voice actors and the fans because now we're not going to be getting their voices anymore. And on top of that, this possibly means that they're not going to be voice acting for future projects. So not just RE2 Remake. What if they have Resident Evil 7 with Claire Redfield and Leon S. Kennedy? They're not going to be Allison Court and Matthew Mercer. There's going to be whoever they get for RE2 Remake probably. So yeah, pretty much safe to say new voice actors for everyone. And that includes the masterful voice acting of the trucker.
That guy's a maniac. Why'd he bite me?
And the store owner. Can't forget about him.
Freeze! Who are you? What are you doing here?
Hold your fire! I'm a human!
Sorry about that.
So what do you think of all this? This is a Let's Talk video, so I want to hear your opinions and thoughts of all of this down in the comment section. What do you think? How do you feel about none of the voice actors returning in RE2 Remake? Or how do you feel about possibly future games not having any of the original voice actors from, the Resident Evil games? Will you still buy Resident Evil 2 if it's like, for instance, not traditional static cameras with maybe tank controls, and instead more of like an RE4 type over the shoulder, type experience? Will that affect you, or that affect your purchase also on the game? I would like to hear all your thoughts on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it right here. I'm Kamaro Tetsu, and you just watched a Death Count video. And like always, Rock on.
Death count activated.